So imagine you're looking into a shattered mirror, right? And you're trying to find the face of a god.
Hmm.
If you pick up just one jagged shard, you might see a star. Pick up another one, and you see a white horse. Pick up a third, and there's a boiling cauldron.
Right, you get all these totally different images.
Exactly. You can't grasp the entire image by staring at just one piece. But if you step back, if you look at how all those brilliant fragments catch the light together, a single breathtaking picture starts to emerge.
It really does.
Okay, let's unpack this because our mission today in this deep dive is to piece together those shards. We're looking at excerpts from The Silver Wheel and The Living Land.
Mm.
And what the sources reveal is this ancient Welsh spiritual tradition that didn't just worship one, easy-to-define mother goddess.
No, not at all.
Instead, they took the concept of the feminine divine and distributed her across this massive interconnected constellation of queens and fate weavers and enchantresses. And their bodies literally made up the landscape.
Yeah, and it's so easy to just dismiss this as dusty folklore or some abstract mythology. But if you look closer, it's actually a radical blueprint for how humans interact with their environment.
Right.
We are looking at a completely different cosmological grammar here. I mean, in this ancient worldview, the landscape of Wales wasn't perceived as inanimate dirt or just rocks and hills.
It's a place to build a house.
Exactly. It was viewed as a living, breathing female body. And living on that body required a sacred contract. It demanded absolute, unyielding reciprocity from you.
Which is wild to think about today. But if we really want to understand that living landscape, we actually have to start by looking up. The story begins before the Earth, out in the cosmos, with a fetch named Dawn. In the texts, Dawn is, she's the closest thing this tradition has to a supreme mother of the gods.
She is the ancestral mother.
Right. She is the mother of this vast divine ecology, so magicians, tricksters, celestial smiths. But reading the sources, there's this fascinating paradox. She barely has a narrative.
Yeah, she really doesn't.
Like, she doesn't embark on quests. She doesn't fight any battles. She's simply an anchor point, referred to constantly as the mother of the children of Dawn. But she doesn't actually do much.
Which totally challenges everything we expect from a pantheon.
Right. Because usually the supreme deity is like the main character throwing lightning bolts around.
Exactly. But her absence in the action is actually the theology itself. Dawn is the primordial mother, meaning she exists well beyond the confines of a narrative arc.
Oh, interesting.
She is the ground from which all the stories arise, not a character participating within them. She's the cosmic womb. And you see this reflected physically in their astronomy, too.
Yes, Dawn.
Right, Lysdawn, or the Court of Dawn, which is the traditional Welsh name for the constellation Cassiopeia.
That really distinct W shape in the northern sky.
Yeah, that's the one. And the crucial astronomical mechanic here is that in northern latitudes, Cassiopeia is circumpolar.
Meaning it never sets.
Exactly. It never sets below the horizon. It is eternally visible. So Dawn isn't just an Earth mother. She is the fixed celestial matrix. As the rest of the night sky wheels and rotates through the seasons, she is the still point that the whole universe revolves around.
Wow. Which naturally brings us to a figure who is very much doing the revolving. Her daughter, Arianrhod.
The silver wheel.
Yes, her name literally translates to the silver wheel.
Yeah.
And just like her mother, she's written into both the sky and the sea. So her fortress, Arianrhod, is an actual physical limestone reef off the coast of Gwynedd that emerges at low tide.
It's a real place.
It's a real place. But then you look up into the sky, and Arianrhod is also the constellation Corona Borealis, the northern crown.
Because she represents the zodiacal revolution.
Right.
While her mother is the fixed anchor, Arianrhod is the turning wheel of stars, which is essentially the measure of time itself. She is the goddess of fate, the unyielding laws of the stellar realm.
But I have to challenge this archetype a bit, because when you read her actual story in the Mabinogi, which is the foundational text of Welsh mythology, Arianrhod is a really jarring departure from the whole nurturing mother trope.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, she operates on an almost predatory frequency. There's this famous episode where her brother, the magician Gwydion, brings her estranged son, Lugh, to her court. And she strikes this boy with 3 specific curses.
Very specific.
She decrees that he will never have a name, he will never bear weapons, and he will never have a human wife unless she alone bestows them.
Right.
And I'm just reading this thinking, how is this a nurturing mother figure? It just sounds like a terrible family dynamic. Why those 3 specific curses? It feels intentionally designed to completely erase him from society.
Well, what's fascinating here is that you've hit on the exact mechanism of her power. In ancient Celtic society, a name is your legal standing. It's your lineage. Arms are your ability to protect yourself and enforce boundaries. And a wife is your future, your legacy. By withholding these three things, she is literally withholding his existence as an adult.
So she's blocking him from entering society.
Exactly. We often project modern psychological expectations onto mythological forces, We assume a mother goddess should be comforting and warm. But Arian Rud is the unstoppable force of fate. The conditions she lays on Lugh are actually the universal conditions of mortal life.
Oh, I see.
You cannot simply be handed an identity or the tools for survival or a life partner without effort and initiation. The mother goddess in this aspect doesn't comfort you, she tests you.
So what she withholds actually defines the ultimate quest of your life.
Right. And the myth provides a masterclass in what happens when you try to cheat those conditions. Her brother Gwydion uses magical trickery to bypass her rules.
Because he wants to help the boy.
Yeah, he weaves illusions to trick her into naming the boy, and then tricks her into arming him. And for the final curse, that he can never have a human wife, Gwydion and another magician literally conjure a wife out of meadow flowers for Lugh, a woman named Blodwed.
Right, they engineered this wild magical loophole because Arian Rod specifically forbade a human wife.
But fate cannot be outsmarted by technicalities.
Right.
The mechanism of initiation has been skipped. Because Blodwed was manufactured from flowers, meaning she has no deep roots, no human grounding, and she was forced into a marriage by a trick. The structure collapses.
She ends up betraying him.
She does. She ends up betraying Lugh, leading to his near death. The text is laying down a really profound law here. If you bypass the necessary friction of fate, the things you gain are fragile simulacra. A life built on a loophole cannot survive the turning of the silver wheel.
Wow. Okay, so if Arian Rod represents the inescapable laws of the cosmos, how did the ancient Welsh actually apply that to their mortal kings?
That's a great question.
Because it's one thing to observe the unyielding rules of the stars, right? It's a totally different thing to try and govern a muddy, unpredictable country under those rules.
Very different.
This moves us from cosmic fate to earthly politics, which centers around a figure named Rhiannon.
Yes, Rhiannon is absolutely central to understanding Welsh governance. Her name derives from a Proto-Celtic root, Rigantona, which means Great Queen. She is the physical embodiment of the land itself.
And her entrance in the texts is just brilliant. She appears on a road riding this great white horse. And the local prince, Creel, sees her and sends his absolute best, fastest riders to catch her.
His very best men.
But the text gives us this incredible physical detail. Her horse never moves faster than a slow, steady amble. Yet no matter how furiously the prince's men gallop, no matter how they whip their horses, they cannot close the gap.
It's such a striking image.
It makes me think of trying to sprint toward the horizon line. You can't catch the horizon by galloping faster. It simply moves as you move. It defines your boundaries.
And that physical boundary is exactly what she is enforcing there.
Right.
Finally, the prince himself rides out, completely exhausted, and simply calls out, asking her to stop. And she stops instantly. And she even remarks that it would have been much kinder to his horse if he had just asked in the first place.
Which is such a great leadership analogy. It's like trying to force respect or trust from a team you're leading. You cannot chase it down or demand it by force. You have to invite it and ask for it properly.
You cannot demand it by speed or violence. In the ancient Celtic world, there was a core political concept called heros gamos, the sacred marriage. A king's right to rule was not a political appointment or a divine right of dominion. It was a literal cosmological marriage to the feminine principle of the land. Rhiannon is the land, and sovereignty waits to be properly addressed.
But what actually happens mechanically if that contract is broken? Like if the king fails to uphold his end of the marriage?
The land actively rejects him.
Literally.
Literally. The king and the goddess were bound by reciprocal obligation. If the king was just, honoring the land and its people, the land would bless him with fidelity. The metaphysical contract manifested physically.
Wow.
But if he was cruel or cowardly or broke his vow, the land would literally turn against him. The soil would sour, the crops would rot, the rivers would dry up.
So the physical landscape reflects the moral standing of its steward.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the devastating consequences of that failure in the story of Branwen. She's known as the White Raven, the sister to the King of Britain, and she is married off to the King of Ireland to forge a political alliance.
Right.
But after this insult at the wedding feast, an incident she had absolutely no part in, she is unjustly blamed by her husband's court.
Yeah, it's brutal.
The queen of the land is stripped of her status, forced to work as a scullery maid, and is beaten daily.
Branwen represents the goddess in her suffering, sacrificial dimension. She is the terrible price of failed sovereignty when the feminine center is abandoned by the stewards who swore to protect it.
And the mechanism of how this personal abuse scales into geopolitical catastrophe is just terrifying.
Hmm?
She is completely isolated, so she trains a starling to carry a message across the sea to her brother.
A single bird.
Right. And the resulting rescue mission sparks a war that completely annihilates both islands. The physical abuse of the sovereign feminine reverberates outward until Ireland and Britain are left in smoldering ruins. Branwen literally dies of a broken heart, looking at the devastation caused on her behalf.
Because it is a systemic political warning. The destruction of the environment and society is the inevitable mathematical result of a broken relationship with the earth itself.
Right.
When male stewardship fails the sacred feminine, the bridge between humanity and the living world collapses.
So Branwen endures the collapse. But what happens when the feminine divine decides to fight back, force evolution? What happens when the initiation isn't just a political warning, but an alchemical fire? That's when we encounter the crone. We meet Cerridwen.
Cerridwen is the keeper of the cauldron. She brews the cauldron of Éowyn, which translates to divine inspiration or poetic fire.
And this story is incredible. She boils this massive cauldron for a year and a day, pending this intricate concoction. And she has a young servant boy, Gwayin, stirring the pot.
Just a normal boy.
Right. But then 3 burning drops splash onto his thumb. Instinctively, he puts his thumb in his mouth, and in a fraction of a second, he absorbs the infinite knowledge and magic of the cauldron.
He gets all of it.
Cerridwen realizes what has happened, and she is furious. This sparks one of the most intense magical chase sequences in all of mythology.
It really is. It's an initiation through hyperacceleration.
Yes. Gwayin morphs into a hare to run across the earth,
Yeah.
and Cerridwen transforms into a greyhound to run him down.
Right.
He dives into a river and becomes a fish. She turns into an otter. He takes to the sky as a bird. She becomes a hawk. Finally, completely exhausted, he drops into a barn and turns himself into a single grain of wheat.
And then Cerridwen becomes a black hen, scratches through the chaff, finds that exact grain, and eats him.
And here's the question I have about that climax, because here's where it gets really interesting, but also terrifying. She literally swallows him.
She does.
9 months later, she gives birth to him, and he becomes Taliesin, the greatest of all Welsh bards. But we look at a mother devouring a child and instantly see a monster. Like, is she a villain, or is this just extreme tough love? How do we reconcile this horrifying act with the concept of divine inspiration?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at what a cauldron actually does.
Okay.
A cauldron isn't just a pot of soup. It's an alchemical furnace. It takes raw ingredients, exposes them to extreme heat, breaks down their cellular structure, and boils them into potent medicine.
Right.
Cerridwen is the dark initiator. In these mystery traditions, destruction is a necessary womb act. She breaks you down to your absolute essence to rebuild you. Notice the specific elements of the chase.
The animals.
Right. Gwayin has to master the land as a hare, the water as a fish, the sky as a bird, and finally, he must become the foundational sustenance of the earth itself, the grain.
Wow, he has to pass through every layer of the biosphere.
Exactly. Only after experiencing every form of biological existence, and then passing through the absolute darkness of the mother's womb again, can he be reborn as a true poet. Taliesin can sing of everything because, mechanically, he has actually been everything.
Oh, that is so cool. So Cerridwen forces you to run through every element at light speed.
Yes.
But the sources also present a parallel to this, right? An initiation that isn't a high-speed chase, but complete, agonizing stagnation.
Yes, that would be Modron, whose name simply translates to Divine Mother.
Okay.
Her son, Mabon, the divine youth, is stolen when he is just 3 nights old and imprisoned in the deepest, darkest dungeon in the world.
And the heroes trying to rescue him can't just follow footprints. They have to traverse backward through time. They consult the blackbird, who sends them to the stag, who sends them to the owl, then the eagle, and finally the salmon, who is the oldest animal in the world.
Yes, the salmon.
Why the salmon specifically?
Because the salmon swims in the primordial waters. It holds the memory of the Earth's origins. To find the lost divine youth, you have to consult the deepest layers of ecological memory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the descent into darkness, whether it's Cerridwen's belly or Mabon's inescapable prison, is a required mechanism for the ultimate return of light and wisdom. The mother goddess presides over the places where we are broken down and remade.
This all paints a picture of a wildly ancient, almost primal worldview. But the most stunning takeaway from the sources isn't that these myths existed. It's that this goddess didn't actually vanish when the modern era arrived or when Christianity took over the island.
No, she didn't disappear at all.
She just went undercover. She remapped herself.
She physically embedded into the geography and the new religious structures.
Yeah, the map of Wales is practically a giant anatomical chart of the goddess. You have Llyn Ffyn Fach, this remote mountain lake where the otherworld lady of the lake emerged to physically hand humanity the knowledge of herbal medicine.
Right.
You have the River Severn, named after a drowned goddess. The River Dee, whose name literally translates to divine. The towering peaks of Snowdonia. These aren't just scenic locations.
They're really not.
In this cosmological grammar, they are the threshold places. They are the exact spots where the membrane between the mortal world and her nervous system is paper thin.
And when Christianity arrived, that primordial mother principle didn't evaporate. It just adapted. The sacred, mineral-rich springs that belonged to the Earth Mother were seamlessly rededicated as holy wells to Mary or to female hagiographic saints.
Like St. Winifred.
Yes, exactly. Whose well at Holywell remains the most continuously visited pilgrimage site in Britain.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Or St. Dwynwen, the patron saint of lovers, whose tidal island is a massive destination. The nomenclature shifted, sure, and the theology was given a Catholic veneer, but the physical mechanism of the relationship remained completely unbroken.
That is fascinating.
The human compulsion to go to the water, to touch the earth, to seek healing from a maternal divine presence in the landscape, that survived intact.
And you can literally still hear her breath today. Modern Welsh bards, when they perform or compose, they still explicitly invoke Owen, that concept of divine inspiration, the three rays of light. When they do that, consciously or not, they are still drinking those three burning drops from Ceridwen's alchemical cauldron.
Which brings us to a really profound psychological shift for anyone listening today.
Yeah.
Because we operate in a modern paradigm that conditions us to view the earth merely as a resource. It is inert matter. It is real estate to be managed, paved, or extracted for profit. And the Welsh tradition completely shatters that lens.
Because sovereignty isn't about dominion over the earth.
Exactly. It is a submissive marriage to its unyielding conditions. True leadership requires a sacred covenant with your environment, just as Rhiannon's uncatchable horse defined the boundaries for the prince.
Right.
And on a personal level, it reframes our darkest struggles, the restrictions that feel like the curses of Arianrhod, or the terrifying, exhausting chases of Ceridwen, where you feel like you are being broken down and swallowed whole.
They aren't punishments.
No, they're not. They are the alchemical cauldrons you are required to pass through to grow into the identity you are meant to hold.
Which leaves us with a huge question to consider. We started by looking at a shattered mirror, seeing how all these distinct pieces, the stars, the uncatchable horses, the cauldrons, the mountain lakes, are actually reflections of the living body of the earth. So take a moment. Look at the physical landscape right outside your window right now, the concrete, the trees, the water, the hills. If that land was not just an object, but a living, breathing entity, with its own ancient memory, its own unyielding conditions, and its own deliberate pace, what kind of sacred covenant is it asking you to make today? And are you moving at the right speed to even hear it?